And then it was down to two. SGA and the Thunder going toe-to-toe with Tyrese Halliburton and the Pacers in the NBA Finals. Let's get into it. With that, we welcome in NBA champion and former NBA Coach of the Year, Avery Johnson, and CBS Sports NBA analyst, John Gonzalez, to discuss the NBA Finals, which start on Thursday. And gentlemen, hard to start anywhere but with the MVP and SGA, right? He's had a fantastic postseason so far. So what would an NBA championship do, Coach, for his current status among the superstars?
Well, he's already a superstar. This kid is just phenomenal. You know, he's got the size, the speed, the change of gears, hand-eye coordination, leadership skills. He's very coachable. He never really gets rattled. He knows how to play in traffic. He plays at all three levels. So he's already a superstar. But I think, you know, start getting those skins on the wall, you know, in terms of winning a championship, that takes you to that next level where a guy like Luka's not there, and you know, Anthony Edwards is not there. So it takes him to that level where Steph Curry entered, and the LeBron James of the world. Obviously, you know, I play with guys like Tim Duncan, who was a superstar, and Shaquille O'Neal. It thrusts you and catapults you to another level if you can win a chip. So I think that's what's at stake. He's had a sensational year no matter what, but unfortunately only one team is going to be left standing. And if he plays at that MVP level, he gives OKC a significant opportunity to win in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, Avery nailed it. I mean, he's already there, right? I mean, he won the MVP. He won the Western Conference MVP. You saw that graphic about players who win the MVP in the same year as winning a championship, and it's a really select list. It's Steph and LeBron and Tim Duncan and Shaquille O'Neal. If you get into that club, that's a really good club to be in, right? And you're putting your name in the hat with, you know, Joker right now, Giannis, and Avery had mentioned, okay, well, Luka doesn't have one, and Ant doesn't have one, and that's what we're all looking at, right? We're all talking about face of the league, who you compare yourself to. Well, SGA would be a cut above. I mean, eventually maybe Wemby joins that conversation as well, but it's just been a really impressive season all year long for SGA. He was fantastic all year for them, led the best team in basketball all season long. As Avery said, he can do so many things on a basketball court, including up to and especially the fact that he is really good at getting to the line and then converting there, which is such an incredible skill. So he handles his business. He's not flashy, right? He's really level-headed. He's a really good leader and a good teammate who doesn't say a bunch of outrageous things. I think that's sometimes why he gets lost in the whole face of the league conversation. But if he wins a championship after pulling off the regular season MVP, the Western Conference MVP, and then potentially the NBA Finals MVP, yeah, right at the top of the list.
Yeah, winning that championship, it just changes the perception of you, right? Nobody will ever look at you the same way. Now, Tyrese Halliburton, nobody's going to ever forget his all-time playoff performance this season, right? Even if they lose. But let's say they win the NBA Finals, John. Where would this rank in terms of all-time playoff performances? Because he's had signature moments in each series.
Yeah, I mean, he'd be an absolute legend, right? We were talking about this earlier. Imagine if the Indiana Pacers, who are now in the finals for the first time since 2000, win it. Nobody outside of Indiana had the Indiana Pacers potentially winning an NBA Finals or even going to the NBA Finals. And credit to them. What a season that they've had. They've just been so consistent all year long. They came in as the 4 seed. They beat the Bucks. Yes, the Bucks were depleted, but then they beat the Cavs, who were the #1 team in the Eastern Conference all season long. And then the Knicks, everybody thought, okay, well, the Knicks beat the Celtics. They're the defending champions. Knicks are on a glide path. It's their year. They've won 50 games in a row. And now all of a sudden here comes the Pacers and Tyrese Halliburton to say, it's not your time. It's our time. We're the ones who made the Eastern Conference Finals for the second year in a row, and we're the ones advancing out of it. And it's because, as you mentioned, Chris, Tyrese Halliburton had some massive moments in this postseason, big shot after big shot after big shot. He's just been so good this year. I can't say enough about Tyrese Halliburton. I mean, again, in the fourth quarter of tonight's game, when they needed him most, he stepped forward. You need your best players to be their best in the biggest moments, and he absolutely was that. So if he delivers a championship to Indiana, never have to buy a drink again. That's it. You might as well retire.
Yeah, Tyrese Halliburton, yeah, whatever his nicknames is with his friends, I call him a waiter. You know, if he was in the symphony, he'd be a maestro. He really sets the table for this team. And what I really love about his game, And I think it's going to be huge if he can pull off this NBA Finals championship. The way he takes care of the basketball and values the basketball. He's not turnover prone. That's not associated with his name. You know, he had a triple-double with no turnovers in a game in the Eastern Conference Finals. He had 4 turnovers tonight, but guess what? 12 assists. But he really does a good job of setting the table. He gets the ball to the right players at the right time, on target, in their shooting position. He passes guys open. So for me, especially a guy that averaged 13.3 assists my senior year in college, I have a great, deep sense of appreciation for a guy that is a pass-first point guard like Tyrese Halliburton. And wow, if you're the Sacramento Kings, you're probably scratching your head. How could you have traded a guy like this? And the same thing with the Los Angeles Clippers. When you're looking at what's going on with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 2 guys that are going to the NBA Finals, and it's not with their original teams.
Right, and with Tyrese, you could argue that maybe he should have won, right, Eastern Conference Finals MVP, the way he played against the Knicks. But Pascal Siakam, very deserving. He got 5 of the 9 votes that the folks put in with that vote. Now, when we look at biggest X factor, Avery, in this series, who would it be for you?
I believe that is Miles Turner for Indiana, because if you look at and really evaluate that Oklahoma series against Minnesota, to start the game, Rudy Gobert is at center. He's not a threat from behind the three-point line. So Hartenstein and, Chet Holmgren, they can stay in the paint when they're guarding him. And it's basically you're playing 5 defenders against 4 offensive players. Miles Turner, if he can knock down that three-point shot, spread the floor, continue to give, guys like Halliburton, Siakam, and the rest of his teammates space to operate, it brings those Oklahoma City bigs from packing it in the paint. So I think if he can knock down a couple of threes and help build on that key number for me to success, which are 12 or 13 or more threes for Indiana, I think he's going to be a significant X factor in this series.
I like that one for the Pacers for sure. And as I mentioned, I think these 2 teams are really evenly matched, very close to each other. They're not dissimilar in that the Pacers also have a lot of depth. I just think that Oklahoma City's depth for the X factor is just a little bit better, that much better, right? Because look at what Sam Presti has done with this team. You have your top line talent in SGA and Jalen Williams. Obviously, you have your MVP, and then both of those guys made all NBA. Then you have Chet Holmgren, and Sam Presti goes out and gets Isaiah Hartenstein to complement him. Then you've got Lou Dort, who made all defense on the perimeter. Just that alone, just that starting 5 alone would be a serious problem. Now here comes the bench. As I mentioned, the Pacers like to play 9 guys. Well, Dagnall can play 9 guys without breaking a sweat. 10, 11 guys when necessary. He's done that through the playoffs. And normally in the playoffs, you have to shorten up your rotation. Avery knows, you end up going, especially if you're Tibbs, you play 6, 7 guys at the most, except for the last couple games for Tibbs because he wanted to switch it up. But generally, that's how you do it in the postseason. Well, with the Thunder, they've been doing this all season long. They love their bench, and their bench is really good. We haven't even talked about Alex Caruso and Kason Wallace, who can guard anybody on the floor, and if they were getting significant minutes, they would be in the conversation for all defense. And then you've got Isaiah Joe as a scorer, and Aaron Wiggins. Both of those guys can give you buckets, so it's just wave after wave after wave of talent with those guys. There's really no weaknesses in their rotation, and I think that depth, while I like the Pacers, Oklahoma City's is just that much better.
All right, yeah, it's going to be a fantastic series. Going to be up and down. So many chess matches between Rick Carlisle and Mark Dagnall. Cannot wait to see how it all shakes out. When it's all said and done, though, Avery, who is your pick to win this series?
Well, the Oklahoma City Thunder, they play in Paycom Arena in OKC, and they're going to make Indiana pay the price on both sides of the floor. I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is just going to be too much to overcome. Again, Jalen Brunson is a special player at his size. What Indiana's going to see with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in this NBA Finals, they're going to be shaking their heads because they haven't seen this with any player in the Eastern Conference. So I'm picking the Thunder in 6.
I can't believe you guys are making me go after Avery, who just nailed that Paycom joke, but I'm going to try my best here. I'm with Avery, who is right about Oklahoma City being the best team. I think the Pacers, who are sort of a poor man's Oklahoma City in a way, might be the best team that Oklahoma City has faced this postseason. Yes, the Nuggets took them to 7. I think that's really just because you have Joker. The Pacers team as a team is better, but Oklahoma City has been so good all year. They won 68 games, right? They had the best point differential, not just this season, but of any season ever. They won the loaded Western Conference by double digits. They crushed the Grizz, swept them out. They were down against the Nuggets and then recovered in that series to win by 7. And then they took out a Wolves team that made short work of the Lakers and Warriors in 5. They really don't have any weaknesses. We talked about that bench, that depth. If you get into foul trouble with your main starters, you've got a whole bunch of other guys that you can go to. They're the #1 defense by a massive margin. They're #1 at forcing turnovers. They're #1 at generating points off turnovers. Again, the Pacers also do that really well. I just think that everything that the Pacers do, Oklahoma City does that much better. And oh yeah, they also have the MVP and the Western Conference MVP. They're absolutely loaded. So I'm also going with Oklahoma City. I'll take them in 5 games. I think the Pacers are going to give them as much as they can handle, but ultimately Oklahoma City's too much for them.
See, I agree with both of you. I think the Thunder are going to win, but I have the Thunder winning in 7. I think the Pacers will give them every single challenge, right, that they might not be ready for, but in the end, like you say, too much depth, and they just have a
Chris,
Yep.
Chris, one quick point. With Oklahoma going into this series in Indiana played a Knicks team that a lot of times during this Eastern Conference Finals, they had significant scoring droughts. And when you had Mitchell Robinson or Josh Hart on the floor, both of those guys can't really score. This is a different situation what Indiana's going to be seeing against Oklahoma City. Everybody that Oklahoma City is on the floor can score the basketball. There's no weak links offensively. So I'm being nice by saying OKC in 6, but with my guy John, I can see it also OKC at 5.
Hey, whatever happens, I just hope we get a sensational series where they're close games, and in the end, you know, we're just living for the moment, okay? John Gonzalez, Avery Johnson, thanks so much for the time, fellas. And make sure for more content from John Gonzalez, check out the Beyond the Arc podcast, where he and Bill Ryder attack all the storylines going on in the NBA. We'll keep you tapped in to the association. So download Beyond the Arc wherever you get your podcasts.